Welcome to Mind Blow, the ultimate destination for jaw-dropping content that will surprise, inspire, and entertain you every step of the way. If you love discovering the unexpected, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and share with your friends to keep the excitement going. Your support helps us keep blowing minds and creating content you'll never forget. So buckle up and get ready, because this is just the beginning. The South China Sea simmered with tension on October 16, 2025. A battered Philippine supply boat was hemmed in by massive Chinese Coast Guard ships, their horns blaring a warning. Turn back. This was no ordinary encounter. It was a high-stakes standoff with global implications. On board, Filipino sailors stood resolute, delivering vital supplies to Marines stationed on a rusting, grounded warship, a lonely outpost asserting their nation's claim. The Chinese ships pressed closer, broadcasting warnings in both Chinese and English, their presence a show of dominance. Every move was a gamble. A single misstep could spark an international crisis. The world watched as these rival claims collided near Second Thomas Shoal, a flashpoint in a long-running dispute. China claims nearly the entire sea, while the Philippines and others cite international law to defend their rights. The U.S. Navy, though not a claimant, patrols these waters to uphold freedom of navigation. The Philippine boat, dwarfed but undeterred, pressed on, its captain's grip tight on the helm, defending both orders and honor. The Chinese blockade was more than a territorial flex. It was a test of will at one of the world's most crucial maritime crossroads. The sun beat down, horns wailed, and the world waited. Would diplomacy or disaster prevail? The standoff had only just begun. Second Thomas Shoal is little more than a submerged reef, but it's become a symbol of sovereignty and conflict. For the Philippines, it's Ayungin Shoal, well within their exclusive economic zone, marked by the grounded BRP Sierra Madre and a handful of Marines. Their presence is a daily assertion of national identity and legal rights. China, calling it Renai Jiao, claims it as part of its sweeping nine-dash line, rejected by international courts but fiercely defended by Beijing. For China, control here is about regional dominance and access to resources. For the Philippines, it's a fight for survival and legitimacy. The rusting Sierra Madre is now the centerpiece of a geopolitical drama. Every supply run is a test of nerves and a statement of defiance. This tiny reef is a microcosm of the larger struggle for the South China Sea. Life aboard the BRP Sierra Madre is harsh, cramped, rusting, and isolated. The Marines endure loneliness and uncertainty, their only lifeline the supply runs now under threat. These missions bring food, water, and hope, sustaining both body and spirit. Twice a month, civilian chartered boats brave the journey, carrying essentials and messages from home. The Marines' presence is a living claim, but it comes at a personal cost. The South China Sea's natural dangers pale beside the man-made gauntlet of intimidation. Filipino sailors, not soldiers, show quiet courage as they run the blockade. Each delivery is a small victory, keeping the outpost alive and the flag flying. The struggle is not just for territory, but for the right to exist in these contested waters. Every successful mission is a testament to resilience and national pride. As the Unaiza May pressed forward, the Chinese blockade intensified. Massive Coast Guard ships cut dangerously close, forcing the Filipino captain into split-second decisions. China's maritime militia joined in, swarming the supply boat and creating a wall of steel. Searchlights blinded the crew, horns blared, and psychological pressure mounted. These are gray zone tactics, aggressive, coercive, but just short of war. China aims to exhaust the Philippines, making resupply missions nearly impossible without firing a shot. Despite overwhelming odds, The Filipino crew stood firm, documenting the harassment for the world to see. Their lone Coast Guard escort broadcasted their right to be there, but the contest was lopsided. The blockade was relentless, and the situation was about to escalate. The supply boat was trapped with no easy way out. The standoff escalated as Chinese ships unleashed water cannons battering the Unaiza May and damaging its bridge. The Filipino crew scrambled for cover, soaked and shaken, their boat penned in by a floating cage of steel. The message was clear. China was willing to risk injury to enforce its blockade. Just as hope faded, a new player appeared. The USS John Finn, a U.S. Navy destroyer, approached the scene. Its arrival changed everything. The American warship's presence forced the Chinese to reconsider their tactics. The dispute was no longer just regional. A global superpower was now in the mix. The Chinese ships grew cautious, their aggression tempered by the risk of escalation. The U.S. has a defense treaty with the Philippines, and the stakes had just skyrocketed. One wrong move could trigger a much larger conflict. The Dragon now faced the Eagle, and the world held its breath. The balance of power had shifted in an instant. The next move would decide everything. The USS John Finn didn't fire a shot. It didn't have to. Its presence alone was a powerful deterrent, watched from above by a U.S. surveillance plane. The message to Beijing was unmistakable. The world is watching, and the Philippines is not alone. The U.S. wasn't taking sides on the claim, but defending the right to free navigation. For the Filipino crew, the sight of the American flag was a lifeline. The Chinese blockade eased, their focus split between the supply boat and the destroyer. A narrow gap opened in the wall of ships. A fleeting chance. The captain of the Unaiza May saw his moment. The risk was enormous, but the opportunity was real. The next few seconds would determine the mission's fate. It was time to act. Seizing the chance, the Unaiza May surged forward, racing through the gap in the Chinese blockade. The Philippine Coast Guard escort drew fire, creating a crucial diversion. Chinese ships scrambled to close the breach, deploying acoustic devices and jamming signals in a last-ditch effort. The Filipino crew pressed on, battered but undeterred. Against all odds, they broke free, speeding toward the BRP Sierra Madre. On deck, Marines cheered. Their lifeline had arrived. Supplies were quickly unloaded: rice, water, medicine, and hope. The mission was a success, a victory of resolve over intimidation. The blockade had been tested and, for now, overcome. The world had witnessed a small but significant triumph. The struggle for the South China Sea was far from over. Calm returned to Second Thomas Shoal, but the conflict's roots remained. The South China Sea is a vital artery for global trade and resources, making every confrontation a matter of international concern. The risk of escalation is ever present. A single miscalculation could draw in world powers and disrupt the global economy. Gray zone tactics and aggressive maneuvers keep the region on edge. The only path forward is dialogue, diplomacy, and respect for international law. The day's events were a warning, a testament to courage and the dangers of unchecked ambition. The world must work together to prevent these waters from becoming a battlefield. The quest for peace is as vital as any supply run. Disclaimer: this is a dramatized account based on real events and tensions in the South China Sea. It is intended for educational and illustrative purposes only.